Good morning, dear children. Welcome to 8th Standard Social Science class. I hope you all are fine and safe by God's grace. Today, we'll start with a new lesson, History, Unit 7, Urban Changes During the British Period. The learning objectives of this lesson are to understand the growth and development of towns in ancient and medieval periods, to analyze the nature and features of urbanization under the British period, to learn about the emergence of new urban centers such as cantonments, hill stations and port cities, to trace the origin and growth of Madras. Now let's move on to the introduction. The evolution of towns, that is urban settlements, has occurred in different ways in different stages. Children, what do you mean by urban area? An urban area is one that has a high population density, engaged in occupations other than food production, living in a highly built environment. Okay. Towns flourished since prehistoric times in India. Towns in India can be classified as ancient towns, medieval towns and modern towns. Children, in ancient times, towns emerged in and around of residential places of kings and its locations, easily accessible to sea and rivers for trade. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Varanasi, Allahabad and Madurai are well-known ancient towns. Children, during medieval times, most of the towns developed as headquarters of principalities and kingdoms. They function either fort city or port city. Important among them are Delhi, Allahabad, Jaipur, Lucknow, Agra and Nagpur. Next is modern towns. The British, after consolidated their power in India, developed three main cities, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata, as the administrative headquarters and trading centers. The newly developed towns are known as differently as hill towns, industrial towns, court towns, railway station towns, cantonments and administrative towns. Now we will see about unique features of urbanization under the British. They are deindustrialization, deurbanization, the growth of new urban centers. First, we are going to see about deindustrialization. In the beginning of 18th century, the policies of British proved harmful to the process of urbanization. With the help of one-way free trade predominance of British, Indian manufacturing industries were destroyed. This led to the ruin of the millions of artisans and craftsmen. There was a sudden collapse of urban handicrafts industry. As a result, old populous manufacturing towns such as Dhaka, Murshidabad, Surat and Lucknow lost their previous importance. The high import duties and other restrictions imposed on the import of Indian goods into Britain and Europe led to the decline of Indian industries. Next is deurbanization, the transformation of India's economy into a colonial one. A market for the manufacturers and source for the supply of the raw materials to the industries hit hard the industrial and commercial base of a number of towns. The native rulers lost their kingdoms to the British by means of various policies of the colonial power. The introduction of the railways resulted in the diversion of trade routes and every railway station became a point of export of raw materials. Children, next one is the growth of new urban centers. British developed new centers of trade like Calcutta, Madras and Bombay on the eastern and western coastal areas. A new trend of urbanization began in the later half of the 19th century as a result of the opening of Suez Canal, introduction of steam navigation, construction of railways, canals, harbours, growth of factory industries, coal mining, tea plantation, banking, shipping and insurance. Changes in the network of the trade were reflected in the development of urban centers. Children, next we will discuss about colonial urban development. Here first is port cities. The British arrived in India for trading. Madras, Calcutta and Bombay became the important ports. They played important role in trade. The English East India Company built its factories and fortified them for the protection of their settlements. Fort St. George in Madras and Fort William in Calcutta were the best examples. Next is cantonment towns. The British occupied the Indian territory and political power by their military force. So they needed strong military camps and established the cantonments. The cantonments were thus an entirely new kind of urban centers. Army people began to live in these places and gradually they were grown up a city. Children, next is hill station. Hill stations were distinctive features of colonial urban development. The British, coming from a cool temperate climate, found the Indian summer season inhospitable. So they built up the alternative capitals in cool areas like Darjeeling was the alternative of Calcutta, Dehradun was the alternative of Delhi. These hill stations were also developed as sanatoriums, places for soldiers for rest and recovery from illness. The introduction of railways made hill stations more accessible. Next one is railway towns. Railway towns were also a type of urban settlements and were established in 1853 after the introduction of railways by the British. Children, our next topic is creation of municipalities and corporation. The development of local government in the British India may be traced in three distinct phases. First phase 1688 to 1882. Municipal government in India has been in existence since 1688 with the formation of Madras Municipal Corporation with a mayor. Sir Josiah Child, one of the directors of the East India Company, was responsible for the formation of the corporation. The Charter Act of 1793 established municipal administration in the three presidency towns. Lord Mayo's famous resolution of 1870 intended to afford opportunities for the development of self-government. Then second phase 1882 to 1920. Ripon's resolution on local self-government was a landmark in the history of local self-government. So Ripon is rightly regarded as the father of local self-government in India and his resolution as the Magna Carta to local self-government. Then third phase 1920 to 1950. Here the Government of India Act 1919 introduced diarchy in the provinces. The Government of India Act 1935 introduced provincial autonomy. With the attainment of independence in 1947, India had unique opportunity of making and molding local government to meet the needs of the free nation. Children, next we are going to see administration of the presidency towns. Towards the close of 18th century, a parliamentary statute authorized the Governor General to appoint justices of peace in the presidency towns. After various trials, a system of government was evolved with essential features like a large corporation with elected members, a strong independent executive authority to check accounts and perform essential duties such as sanitation, water supply and collection of revenue, etc. Next, we are going to see origin and growth of Madras. The beginning of the city of the Madras goes back to the earliest stages of British commercial enterprises in India. The English East India Company was started in 1600 AD. The English, after some efforts, secured the privilege of building a factory at Masulipattnam. It was well protected from the monsoon winds. The official grant for the land was given by Damalla Venkatapati Nayak, the deputy of the Raja of Chandragiri. Damalla gave British a piece of land between Kuvam River and the Egmore. Francis Day, accompanied by his interpreter Berry Timmappa and superior Andrew Coogan. By this, Francis Day and Andrew Coogan was granted permission to establish a factory cum trading post and a fort at Madrasapatnam in 1639. This fortified settlement came to be known as Fort St. George Settlement. It is otherwise referred to as the White Town, while the nearby villages inhabited by the local population was called as Black Town. Collectively, the White Town and the Black Town were called Madras. Next, we will see Madrasapatnam. Damalla Venkatapati gave the English the grant of Madrasapatnam. He was under the control of Venkatapati Rayulu, the Raja of Chandragiri. Venkatapati was succeeded by Sriranga Rayulu in 1642. He issued a new grant to English in 1645 called Srirangarayapattnam. Venkatapati decided that the name Chennapatnam should be given to the new fort and settlement of English after his father Chennappa Nayak. But the English referred to call the two united towns in the name of Madrasapatnam. Children, next we will see making of Chennai. Chennai was once a group of villages set amidst palm-fringed paddy fields until two English East India Company merchants visited there. Raja Mahal in Chandragiri Palace, where Francis Drake of the East India Company was granted land in 1639 in order to set up factory which later came to be known as Madras. This factory was completed on St. George's Day, 23rd April 1640, and named 4th St. George Day, and Guggen were jointly responsible for the construction of the 4th St. George. This was the East India Company's principal settlement until 1774. After independence in 1947, the Madras Presidency became the state of Madras, and the other regions that were a part of Presidency were constituted in separate states of Andhra Pradesh, Kerala and Mysore were under the State Reorganization Act 1956. Later on, in 1969, the state of Madras was rechristened as Tamil Nadu. On 17th July 1996, Madras was officially renamed as Chennai. Children, the Madras Presidency was an administrative subdivision which was referred to as Madras Province. The regions covered in the Madras Presidency during the British regime covered were modern day Tamil Nadu, the Lakshadweep Island, northern Kerala, Rayalaseema, coastal Andhra, district of Karnataka and various districts of southern Odisha. Children, next we are going to see about Bombay. Bombay was initially 7 islands. It was under the control of Portuguese from 1534 onwards. Portuguese king gave it as a dowry to Charles II of England when he married the former sisters in 1661. King leased it to the East India Company. The city of Bombay began to grow when the East India Company started using Bombay as its main port in Western India. In 1687, the English East India Company transferred its headquarters from Surat to Bombay. Children, next we will see about Calcutta. In 1690, the English merchants founded a settlement at Sultanate, Calcutta and Govindpur. The company established Fort William in Calcutta. Calcutta became presidency with a governor and council to manage its affair. Dear children, I conclude this lesson by saying that the British Empire gradually consolidated an elaborate spatial structure of administration with an imperial capital, provincial capital and district headquarters. By the beginning of 20th century, Calcutta, Bombay and Madras has become the leading administrative, commercial and industrial cities of India. These cities became the central commercial area with buildings of European style. Suburban railways, tramcar and city buses gave the colonial cities a new look and status. So children, I hope you understood this lesson. We will learn more interesting topics in our next class. Thank you. Have a nice day.